Another week, another change on our studio a little bit.
You like it?
I do like the table. We may go to a round table. We may, who knows? It's your world. We just follow your world, man.
You ask for a table appears.
I asked for a table for a very personalized reason. I can wear shorts when it gets warmer. No one will see the legs. Wear a suit, shorts, we're good.
I like it.
Jim Gazzolo, Heath Schwer.
Yeah, here we go.
Background being done for what's going on behind us?
We have an academic signing day that's going to happen this week. So
now, why does that not get the attention of the football signing day?
You know what? I don't know. That's a really good question. It's a really good question.
One of my pet peeves is that I hate football signing day. I always have.
Hey, on that note, really,
yes.
I used to say this as a basketball coach. Have you ever heard a coach on National Signing Day come out and say, hey, you know what? We really missed the boat. We didn't sign anyone we really wanted. We got these guys. Like, it's so funny because everyone has an unbelievable class, right?
No, it's an unbelievable class. we got the guy we wanted.
For sure.
He's the guy we really wanted at linebacker. He's the guy we really wanted at quarterback.
100%.
You got 4 quarterbacks. He's the guy we wanted, but he's the guy we really wanted, but he's the guy we wanted. No.
It's crazy.
But you say the same thing in basketball, don't you?
For sure.
You can't come out and say,
you can't say, hey, we really missed on our first 2.
We really lost the guy, and now we're behind the 8 ball and we're never going to make it up.
So your frustration with signing day is the same as mine, basically.
My frustration is that we make a whole lot out of kids that we may never hear of again. And we've created a monster.
Oh, no question. It's no question.
I don't need to see the 17 hats and play the game. Just write me a letter and tell me. You know how I did it? I signed my letter. I told my coach, and he just put me in the list of people. Because nobody cared, I grant that.
I mean, that was like 1950, though, right?
That was close.
Yeah.
Close. Leather helmets were still in. Yes, very close. Thank you for that. All right, I'm going to ask you about this.
Okay.
Because I've been harping on you for a year. I see progress in the press box coming down.
It's about time, huh?
A strange look to see a gutted press box.
Yeah, it is coming down. I thought it would come down a lot quicker. You know, I didn't know. I thought it'd
be like a wrecking ball and just boom, it'd be gone.
Me too. But obviously they can't because obviously, well, I didn't know this, but like from internet, we had internet down for 3 days at one point on campus, on this side of campus because of that. So they have to do it piece by piece, and but they are moving, and it's great to see. But really, though, when you go out to baseball and you look over to the right, you just want the thing down. Like, it's such an eyesore. But, hey, we're making progress.
I think it's really kind of an interesting look, and I said this and I wrote this, is to see guys working on that while the football team is working on the field. It almost reminds me of you guys practicing in here at the start of this when guys are still cleaning and working at other parts.
For sure.
Just a strange kind of rebuild in 2 parts.
No doubt. Hey, and speaking of, spring practice is going really well. I know we're probably not going to add that, but I'm telling you, I am so excited. There is more teaching. There is more teaching being done right now than I've seen since I've been here.
I can say this, I've been to 3. More energy, more activity, a lot of intricate teaching that I see, and a lot more of the actual practice going on. Instead of I like what they do is they don't stop practice, do a lecture on what's going on. They do it as they go, and they do it the next day.
That's right, and it's just how they play. So that it's very similar to like you talked about with Coach Kennedy. You know, Coach, when you go watch him practice,
you're watching the game.
That's right. It's the same thing with Coach Goff.
And I'm surprised more coaches don't pick up on that because the speed of the game is now the biggest thing.
For sure. Well, I'll tell you another one that we're going to have on here, you know, momentarily. It's Coach Landreneau for softball. And you talk about a guy who's won and who has really set a bar for his program. It's him.
Well, I think your spring sports, they've made a name for themselves. I'm interested to see this year because he's got a whole new group. And the same with baseball is, what I'm seeing in baseball is they're starting to learn their roles. When you bring in as many new kids as you guys have brought in both sports, learning it, I know people say, well, they should know they do this, that. No, learning your role, the coach learning who he can and cannot. You know that as a coach. Who do you trust?
No question.
Who do you trust at the end of games?
For sure. It's hard.
That's what I want to see as they move forward is what have they learned from the last 6 weeks?
Well, and I'll tell you this, too. The thing about Coach Landreneau is his culture is unbelievable. And he is a ball coach. You know, I say it all the time. Like, if you're going to hire people, hire a ball coach. Like, he's a ball coach. He studies it. He studies his craft, and they always get better. So whatever the strengths and weaknesses, I'm sure we're going to talk about here momentarily, he's going to find a way to put us in a position to win it.
No, and he gets them ready to go. And what I want to see is, can they, until they can find that #1 dominant pitcher that can pitch against the #1s, they're always playing a little catch-up. That's the one big difference between the big schools and the mid-majors is that one dominant pitcher that wins the 1-0 game when it has to be won.
No doubt, and no doubt. I mean,
they're hard to get.
They're hard to get, and you really, I mean, you know, you think about Major League Baseball, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, in the playoffs, I mean, it comes down to pitching, you know?
Always comes down to pitching.
You got to do it. Got to have it.
When we come back, we'll talk to James Landreneau now after this on Polk Nation.
Welcome back to Polk Nation. Coach Landreneau, welcome back, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you guys are up and rolling.
Yep.
Your season's rolling along. You're playing unbelievable schedule again, which is awesome. Okay, so tell Polk Nation where are we at, where you think you are. Talk about your team, the strengths and weaknesses, and you know, we're getting ready to go into league play here before long. Tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, you know, this season has definitely brought us challenges. You know, the schedule is definitely a challenging schedule, and it's definitely exposed us in some key areas, which we hope we are able to clean up going into conference play. You know, what I'm happy with our kids and proud of them is, you know, the ups and downs of the schedule, they've been able to stay positive and show maturity every week. The energy levels there is a ton of 1-2 with this team. You know, we played some close games and just didn't find a way. The biggest thing is growing up a little bit, maturity, and we've been exposed in those situations a couple times. So, I like where we're at heading into conference play. You know, we had a tough series with Baylor where we're fortunate enough to get one game from them, but made some couple mistakes that hopefully we could clean up. You know, the good part of it, Heath, is everything that we're finding is stuff that we could fix. It's not that we have a lack of talent, lack of desire. So a little bit below 500 is not where we'd like to be right now, but it's just where we are, and it's how we respond for the back half of the season.
Now, you guys have always done this and then turned it on in conference because of the in part because of the schedule you play. But this is a new group. Do they understand the process and keeping them interested and motivated, knowing that better times are ahead?
Yeah, that's key, right? The word process, and we talked about it. You know, it's something we have to talk about daily. You know, the mental game is something that we really like this year. I think that's what brings a lot of inconsistency. But the process, even as a coach, man, you talk about you kind of, it's hard while you're going through it. And yes, for the most part, I was surprised at the energy level our kids come in with and belief. And you know, the thing about it is, they show a ton of hurt after these defeats, but the next day they let it go and they're ready to move on for the next game. And that's why I think this is going to be a really good team down the stretch. We're developing some leadership, and I think sometimes even for me, you know, as you talk about the process as a coach, but sometimes you have to remind yourself about it, you know, and get yourself, because it's been grueling. It's been some hard losses.
And also, you have some new players that haven't been through this yet, but you got a lot of kids in new positions too. What's that learning process been?
You know, we haven't had anybody on that's on the field right now that has been the person that the team kind of leaned on yet. It's all, like you said, even the veterans are playing new roles for us. We moved, you know, like Poulard having to move from infield, from outfield, and, you know, hitting in the top of the order has been a little bit different and challenging. But you start to really mature the plate this week, and then we have some freshmen stepping up, and Reese Reyna and Chris Lee Marino that have played outstanding the last couple weeks, and just kind of say if we could get those kids going. But yes, that's been the hardest thing, is to realize that it's a maturity factor. And as coaches, we had to really kind of step back and just really buy into the process and just really do a lot more teaching from the mental side more than just the physical side of the game.
So what do you think is the strength of your team, Coach? Right now you're going in, obviously you're about halfway through. What do you think the strength is of your team? And where do you need your team to improve to, you know, again, get to another regional?
Yeah, I think, Heath, key for us is we got to eliminate routine mistakes. You know, we're making too many routine errors on the defensive side of the ball, turning those lineups over too many times. I think if we could clear that up, and probably base running. Surprisingly, you know, we've always prided ourselves in being a good base running team, and we've cost ourselves some games this year by making simple mistakes on base running. So if we could clean up the defensive side, base running side, and I think everything else kind of starts to fall into play. I love that we're really athletic. We can run, we can play fast, and we have good depth in the infield. I mean, good depth far as we have about 15 players we feel that we can play at any time and still be successful. So I like the fact that we're young and maturing as we go, and we're really athletic.
There's a point in the time in the season where you have to turn it on.
Yeah.
That you can't say keep making the same mistakes. Does that start with the conference? Because your margin for error actually becomes a little bigger in conference, whereas in the tough games, you really don't have much margin for error.
Yes and no. You know, it's kind of tricky. I think it's tough to really draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we have to do it now. You know, 'cause if that was the case, we'd have did it 2 weeks ago. You know, we're ready for them to play well at all times. I don't know when it's going to happen. That's what my message to our team is. I do believe this. I believe we're going to clean it up. We're going to be able to put all phases of the game together. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you this: the effort from the staff and the players are there to clean it up, and they're watching video and they're growing. And I think that's been I think the one thing I didn't take into consideration was how many new faces are in there and how many small things we've come up. And we've been exposed in. And hey, I'd rather be exposed now than late in the season. But, you know, go back to conference play, man. Like our conference, I tell you what our conference has done this year. They have scheduled tough. You know, we play this weekend, come and play against Corpus Christi. You know, they took a game from Baylor early in the season. They've played some teams really good, and I think that's what you're going to see. You know, Southeastern took a game from Nebraska early this season, so you're going to see some teams in our conference playing tougher schedules now.
Are you teaching them that?
Do you think? I was going to say, do you think that they've looked and said, okay, all the success McNeese has had and all the success you've had in league and more importantly in the conference tournament? You know, I used to say all the time as a coach, you can criticize success or you can analyze it. You've obviously had a lot of success. Do you think that the league is kind of taking notice and taking a page out of your book in that way?
You know, they don't directly say that, but you have seen the schedules get tougher over the years. I think a couple of years ago, the eye-opener for us is we had won the tournament, but the NCAA had let us know that we were going to have, if we didn't win the tournament, we had a large bid. They let us know after the fact.
Wow.
And that was because our strength of schedule. You know, we went ahead and we played everybody. We played good teams. And bottom line is, if we want to be a two-bid conference, or you want to ever, if your desire is just to get to the conference tournament, then go ahead and schedule, get your numbers up, make it look good,
right.
And maybe you can win the tournament and get lucky. But if you want to win the tournament, your kids have to know what it's like to play in that stress, that pressure of, hey, if I make one mistake, it could cost the game.
That's right.
And I think that's where you grow from. And, you know, sometimes, has it paid off for us yet? Ultimately, no. But as you build your program, I think it's what we have to do to try to get there.
When we come back on Polk Nation, we're going to talk about the conference itself and about the postseason with Coach James there now after this. We're back on Polk Nation, and Coach, one of the things that always intrigues me is your ability to play better in the league. And what does the league look like? Is the league getting better? You talked about the competition that they're playing. Are they getting better?
Hey, I feel they are. You know, I've been fortunate enough to be in the league, you know, back from Mike Smith when he was here, and just seeing the talent and then the coaches. You know, I think the league has done a good job of hiring ADs, have hired some really good coaches that have a mindset of they want to elevate their programs. And, you know, I don't think there's a lay-down team. You know, when I'm looking at the coaching staff, that, you know, you're playing against really well-coached teams now. And I think that's been a huge difference, and I think that's also brought the talent level up. But, you know, you take 8 years ago to right now, the way scheduling in our league is done is drastically different, especially if you look this year. You're seeing, you know, Northwestern and Nichols and Southeastern are doing for us, playing tough schedules, and, you know, and Corner Word putting herself out there, as well as Corpus Christi this year has played a lot of really good teams close. So it's definitely been advanced. I don't think you go into one weekend saying, hey, this is an easy weekend. There's none of those games.
What about and this is for Heath as well, is over the last couple of years, we've seen the growth of softball on the national level in the College World Series. It outdrew when it came to attendance and when it came to eyes from TV. It outdrew baseball last year.
For sure.
What does that do to both the programs and the AD's interests?
Well, go ahead, Coach.
No, I could speak just for us. It's been really cool to see the growth of the program and the interest, and to see the fan base. I think what you're seeing is TV has obviously made the big difference of exposing people to the game. And, you know, for years, people never saw softball on TV, so they didn't know much about it. And it's kind of, I think the game has advanced. Just in my time at McNeese, I've seen the difference the way the game's played at a higher level. Athletes are moving better, and the coaching styles have gotten so much more aggressive. And I think, you know, SEC came in years ago and started making financial gains and investing into facilities and coaches, and you could kind of see everything start to elevate upon that.
Well, I think one thing about it that people don't really think about or talk about is the best baseball players from, let's say, 18 to 22, a lot of times are not playing in college. Because they've gotten drafted out of high school, were drafted early, what have you. The best softball players in the country are playing softball. And so the sport, as Coach talked about, people are just playing at a higher level. Athletes are bigger, better, faster, stronger. It's an exciting game. Like when you go to a softball game, like it's quick, it's action, and that's, I mean, our society is that way as well. I think it's only going to continue to grow. We've obviously made an investment in softball and to coach. We believe in it, especially in this area. I think that it's a huge deal, and it's a big deal on this campus. It's a big deal in this department. I think it's only going to get better, and I'm not surprised that it outdrew baseball at all across the country, and let alone on linear TV. And I think you're going to see that more and more.
And for you guys, you've gotten to the regional.
Yeah.
You've won a regional game. What's the next big thing? Can you get to a regional final? What will it take to get to a regional final and to pull off an upset and win a regional?
Yeah, you know what it's going to take. That's hard. It's pretty simple, right? You got to be able to pitch it, catch it, and be very fortunate with some timely hitting. I felt like we've been knocking on that door a couple times. You know, I think the biggest thing for us is we got to continue to pitch it really well. If you're going to win in regionals, you got to be able to pitch. That's what's going to win, and you can't make mistakes. And so I think that, you know, we're getting players in. Our players understand. I think it's a belief. It's like everything. It's like we joke around. It's like when the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister, right? Once he ran it, you know, 20 people ran it within a year, something like that. And I think you win that second game, and the belief system comes. So I think we're knocking on the door. It's kind of like once we won the tournament one time, they started to come often. And our players believe right now, and I think the biggest thing is we got to win a couple. I think if we could win a couple of these games early in the season against these bigger teams, to give them a little bit more confidence, a little bit more belief. But who knows? You know, it's so darn tough to win in Division I. It's tough to win in a regional. But kind of going back to popularity, another thing too, Heath, is, you know, every time you come out to a softball game and see two good teams, you're going to see the number ones throw. And if it's a midweek or the weekend, you face number ones every weekend. Like you don't face you know, 5 or 6. You're going. So I think from the fan standpoint, is, you know, you come and see good players every single time out. And I think that's been a big difference for the sport as well.
Well, make no mistake. I mean, you look at the team and the program that's had the most. That's been the most consistent for the last few years, and it's Coach Langino in softball. And I say it, you and I have talked about it off the air, Jim, but I will tell Polk Nation, there's not a better culture on this campus. He wins because he's got good players and he's a good coach, but really he wins because he's got a culture. And those girls do an unbelievable job. They play their butts off. They do a great job in the community, on campus. We're lucky to have Coach, and every year that goes by, I'm very, very fortunate that we get to have him and coaching our girls.
I appreciate it.
We'll come back and we'll get Coach's final words for this week on Polk Nation.
Hey, I love our spring sports. I mean, they are, both of them,
you know who doesn't get a lot of attention?
What's that?
Track.
They don't.
You have an actually good track program.
A really good track program.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Gilroy, and I mean, they do a heck of a job I mean, they really
This
are.
is where you should read the paper, because last week I did a story on him.
Well, there's a reason why I don't read the paper, but it's a long time ago.
I'm sure it is.
But my old boss told me when I first got my first head job, okay, and this was almost, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, not 30, but he said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. Don't ever read the paper.
It's true.
Don't ever read message boards.
Oh, very true.
And I said, well, why is that? He said, well, because it's going to cloud your judgment.
Yes.
No matter, you're never as good as people say you are,
Yes.
and you're never as bad. Just keep on keeping on.
That is true. And I try
And
to
I never forgot that.
I try to tell that people, because it's funny you say that, because last weekend, this is a great example. Last weekend, the kid Reed Bork, the shortstop, I made 2 errors on Friday night, helped cost you a game, and I had to write that he made the 2 errors. Come back the next day, he gets 3 hits, first home run, breaks out of his slump, and I come back the next day, and he's the greatest player ever, if you read it. So in the case of 24 hours, you're correct.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what the media does.
For sure. That's why I don't like the media.
The media can make you, but the media can break you. Don't forget
Very true.
that.
No, but it's when you're a coach and you're in a leadership position, especially on campuses, in my opinion, you know, you can really go down a rabbit hole.
Oh, real quick.
And I just, you know, and we make fun of it, but I really don't. I don't read the paper. I don't.
I don't think you should.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad.
I'm very honest with that. You shouldn't. You shouldn't care what we think.
Yeah. I hate to tell you, but I really don't.
I know. I fully understand. I fully accept that. I fully accept that and understand that.
How about Coach Langino? What a stud.
Good. The softball program here, and it really started with Coach Poole, but the softball program here has always had, what I like about it is it's always had the desire to compete with the big ones.
For sure.
I didn't see that with every coach in every other sport, but here it's always been, we want to be one of those.
Right.
We want to play those. We're not afraid of those. Baseball does it to some extent, but it's easier to do in baseball because you're just trying to play midweek games.
Right.
Softball, he goes out of his way to bring people in. And that's what baseball did this year, is you guys brought some really good schools in.
Absolutely.
And exposed them to you, but you also get your name out to other places.
For sure. And I will tell you this, too. Like, we are in such a hotbed of talent for baseball and softball.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, some of the best baseball players in the country are
Come
right
from
here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Glenn Caccini at Barb High School as a
National Coach of the Year a couple times.
Yeah, I mean,
National champion.
And been an Olympic coach.
Yes.
Like, so, I mean, we have a hotbed of talent. Those two sports should be good, and they are good, and both of them do a heck of a job. And I'm so glad we had James on here, because we're coming down the stretch, getting ready to start league play, and if you haven't been out to that stadium and to watch those girls play, you're missing it.
And
as
you like to say, is you're done in an hour and a half.
And you're done in an hour and a half.
Not the 3.5 hours. Sometimes you see a pitch. Hey, I'm a baseball guy, and I understand what is wrong with baseball. It's the fact that guys just don't throw strikes.
I love baseball. I really do. It's but I will tell you, I just, like every fan, is like, golly, it's a long
It needs
day.
to be quicker.
For sure.
And next week,
Here we go.
Here we go again. We'll see more of the press box coming down.
Oh, yeah, no
And we'll get
question.
your opinion on that
Okay.
on Poke Nation.